Hello from Sweden and welcome to Everyday Mystic, an aid to your liberation. My name is David and I hope that you're feeling well and that you're having a good day. In today's video I'm going to talk about that there are parts of the human condition that try to trick you into doing certain things. And I'm going to use a very specific example that cuts to the core of what I am talking about. Now, everything is happening according to plan and there is nothing to be afraid of, and you don't really have to do anything. But it's better to know some of the rules to the game if you want to have more of an enjoyment when you're playing it. Now, people know about this and they use it to control you, they use it to extract things from you, and they use it to keep you in the place that you are in. So if you want to get somewhere else, it could be a good thing to know about these things. Now, the first thing that you need to realize is that dopamine is the motivation and reward chemical, and it gives you a sense of satisfaction every time you perceive that you get something that you want, whether it's actually an accomplishment or not. The main thing is that it feels like an accomplishment. And going after what dopamine drove us to was what kept our ancestors alive. And now I'm not just talking about human ancestors, I'm talking about any animal that has a dopamine system. This is what drives us towards pursuing certain rewards. So what happens when our basic needs are taken care of, as in a modern society? What happens when there are things all around us that trigger our reward system that maybe doesn't cost anything at all or costs very little and we can just go to the supermarket and buy them? Then these things trick us. They trick our dopamine system, and we need, if we want to get out of certain habits, we need to be aware of that this is what is happening. Because if you think about it, when we look at our ancestors, in the hunter-gatherer societies, these things like sugar, fat, fast carbohydrates, salty foods, etc. were very scarce. And when we consume them, they trigger things in our dopamine system. This is also what is happening when we engage in the reproductive instinct. This is what happens when we play video games, for example. All of these things are governed by dopamine and our behavior is governed by it. And now, here comes the next little part of it, and this is why it's so important to de-identify with our thoughts. To stop believing that the thoughts are us and that our thoughts are actually telling us something about reality. Because our thoughts interact with the dopamine system. So first, that which has been programmed into us to give us a dopamine kick, the dopamine system tells us to go after because it wants its dopamine fix. We become basically addicted to anything because of this. And then what happens is that our thoughts, instead of helping us to deal with this in a constructive manner, start to tell us just one excuse after another to why we should indulge. And this is why we need to disconnect from our thoughts, to learn to take a step back and observe our thoughts and realize that they are not telling us the truth about the world or what is good for us. They are governed by very primitive instincts inside of ourselves, by neurotransmitters, by specifically dopamine in this case, but you can see it related to other things in other instances as well. So, what we need to do is to take a step back from this and try to see it as consciously as possible. And that's another thing. This whole human experience is about bringing more consciousness into it. On one level, it happens automatically as we are going through our collective spiritual awakening, but on the individual level, we can do things to speed up this process and to not resist it in the manner that we have become so accustomed to doing. So thoughts are not real. They can create things in the reality illusion if we choose them consciously. But they cannot tell you the truth about the reality illusion. So what should you do about this then? Now you have the information in place, you know that you cannot trust your thoughts because they are governed by very base instincts within yourself, and therefore you have to take a step back and approach this from a higher perspective instead. Again, you don't really have to do anything, but your experience here on this planet will be much more easy if you follow certain rules. We don't need to believe one thing or the other arbitrarily anymore. We can actually start to know how things work and approach them in a conscious manner accordingly. So the first step is what I have just been talking about, just knowing what is going on. Because just by knowing this information, you will also be able to spot this more clearly within yourself. You will see when your mind starts to go off in these habitual patterns, telling you to indulge in one thing or the other, making up excuses, making up explanations why you should do this thing just this time. And it will be the same the next time and the next time and the next time, until you actually start waking up from this dream and start to realize what is actually going on. So, be aware when your mind is going off. Observe yourself. Get into the habit of actually observing what is going on inside of your mind, because your thoughts together with your emotions drive you towards certain behaviors. And therefore, the more you become aware of what your mind is actually telling you and what emotions these thoughts are actually interacting with, the more you can also get more distance to this. And as I say in many other videos, at the absolute foundational core, all is one, and we're all part of the infinite consciousness of God. And that is the highest perspective that you can take on this. But the more you go down into your thoughts, the more you become identified with the physical reality, the more you become identified with your thoughts and your emotions and what they are telling you, and the more you believe what they are telling you, even though these are just automatic patterns that are being played up over and over in your brain and therefore creating the same experiences. The more you can actually take a step back from this and realize this, the more you will be able to approach things from this higher state of consciousness. Of course, there are layers to this, but you know when you are stuck in the lower, and you know when you are gradually climbing to higher and higher perspectives when it comes to how you approach your life. So learn this. Learn to observe your mind without interacting with it. You can do this. You can just feel what is going on. You can listen to what is going on. You can experience without having to react to the experience. Whether it is an internal experience in the form of thoughts and emotions, or whether it is an external experience that triggers something in you. You can cultivate the habit of taking a step back and not reacting to what is going on in the present moment. And this is actually how you bring more consciousness into the present moment. This is how you more and more anchor yourself in the present moment. by not being triggered by it, so that you go either into past programming or a bunch of worries about the future. So therefore, see the illusory nature of the chatter of your mind. If this is just going on and on and on inside of your head, often rehashing the same thoughts over and over again, when you know that this is what is happening, you can also see that this isn't you, this isn't the truth about anything, and you can start to detach yourself more and more from it. And this means that you become more and more free of making conscious choices. But if you get tricked by the mind, which will happen, don't worry, you get another chance the next moment and the next moment and the next moment, and life is consisting essentially of an infinite amount of present moments. So you really have an infinite amount of chances to get this right. So don't worry, just know what is going on, understand what happened, and do your best to make a different choice the next time. Do your best to act from a higher place the next time. Don't attach yourself to your failures. Failure is just parts of the human condition, just like everything else. There is nothing wrong with it. Everything is ultimately going in the right direction. But as I said, you can make this journey more smooth. In essence, it is about allowing energy to flow as freely as possible. And therefore, once something, a mishap, if you will, happens, the best thing you can do is to just allow the energy to go on flowing. Don't get attached to it. I know that it's very easy to start beating ourselves up when we fail. I know it's very easy to hold on to the memory of that failure. But instead, just release it. Know that it is in the past. It doesn't exist anymore. Every moment is a new moment. Every moment is a potential for making a new choice. So therefore, don't get attached to it. But again, I know that I'm talking a little bit tricky here, but you can also, even because the ego is very tricky, you can also actually become attached to not wanting to attach to things. You can beat yourself up because you cannot let something go. This is also a mistake. But it is a mistake that is forgivable. This is just your programming. This is just your ego acting out while you're letting go of things to embrace something higher. Don't worry about it. Just do your best to let go and allow things to flow as effortlessly as possible, while you're keeping as a clear focus as possible on where you want to go, and then allow life to lead you there. It's not that complicated, and yet it is complicated also. But just as I said, you fall, you realize that you went unconscious, you just get up and you move forward. There is nothing more to it. Don't let your brain trick you into holding on to things that you don't have to hold on to. It's as simple as that. And that's it for today. If you like this video, leave a like, leave a comment, and share the video on social media and other places. All of it helps the channel to grow. And if you haven't done it already, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so YouTube always notifies you of new videos, and check out the description and the comment section for other things that me and my wife are doing. And other than that, just sincerely thank you for your time.